Tying the knot, MSPs vote to legalise same-sex marriage. What will it mean for those who can now marry and those who oppose the principle? Power politics, Willie Rennie calls for a timetable to deliver more devolution, and time flies when you're online, we reflect on 10 years of Facebook. The first gay and lesbian weddings in Scotland could take place this autumn after MSPs tonight passed the same-sex marriage bill by 105 votes to 18. The Health Secretary Alec Neil hailed the decision as an historic moment for equality. But religious groups who had strongly opposed the change said it had been steamrollered through by parliamentarians who had completely ignored public opinion. STV's political correspondent Claire Stewart reports.
I'll put you the sweetener in there.
Jerry and Larry have been together for more than 2 decades. They made things official, becoming civil partners, but marriage wasn't an option for the couple. Today they came to the Parliament hoping Scotland's laws were about to change.
It's important because it's equality, and for years Larry and I have lived without that. I mean, when we started out, our kind of love was illegal.
Any plans to actually tie the knot?
Well, I think it's certainly on the running for maybe sometime in the future.
Yes, he hasn't asked me yet.
The Marriage and Civil Partnership Bill reached its final hurdle at Holyrood today. The bill will allow same-sex couples to marry. With support from the majority of MSPs, campaigners were expecting good news.
It's a really big day. It's a big day because, for very many years we've been campaigning for same-sex couples to have the right to get married, to, celebrate their love in front of their friends and family in the same way as everyone else.
But the bill has also seen strong opposition. The Catholic Church is among those who oppose same-sex marriage. They say their concerns haven't been listened to.
Well, we've been disappointed at the seeming intransigence where very reasonable assurances for protecting conscience. We're still asking for those today, but there's been a determination not to give us anything really, so we're surprised at that.
We will have a very substantial majority.
Their claims denied by the minister responsible for steering the bill through Parliament. The Catholic Church say you haven't listened to their concerns at any point throughout this process.
Well, I would really disagree with that. It is our determination, and it has been from the beginning, to do 2 things. One is to legalise same-sex marriage, but secondly to protect the rights of those, both celebrants and churches, who do not want to participate in same-sex marriage.
We are sending out a signal that we've not been listening.
However, even some of the SNP's own MSPs have concerns. This afternoon, John Mason tabled a series of amendments to the bill. He fears the legislation won't offer enough protection to those who oppose gay marriage.
No question that LGBT folk have been discriminated against in the past. My fear is that we now switch the discrimination to religious people and people who have strong views on marriage even without religion.
But his amendments failed and the bill was backed by a big majority.
Yes, 105. No, 18. There were no abstentions. And the Marriage and Civil Partnership Scotland Bill is passed.
Tonight, Scotland joined England and Wales in approving same-sex marriages. Couples can now set a date to tie the knot in the autumn of this year.
Well, joining us now is Tom French, Policy Coordinator of the Equality Network, and the Reverend Dr Alan Hamilton, Convener of the Church of Scotland's Legal Questions Committee. Thank you both for joining us. Tom, put into context how significant today is.
Well, Nicola Sturgeon, the Deputy First Minister, was speaking at our celebration event earlier tonight, and she said she had never had a moment where she had felt more proud as an MSP than at 6:30 tonight. And I think that really sums up the mood for many people. We are proud of our government, we're proud of our Parliament for standing up and saying Scotland is a place where whoever you are and whoever you love, you are an equal and valued member of our society. And I think, just to put it in context a bit, Jerry and Larry, in your piece there, mentioned that for most of their lives, they grew up in a country whereby who they were was criminalised. So tonight, to see our political leaders sending out a strong and clear message that lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender people in Scotland are now equal, I think was a really important message to send out.
Alan, the Scottish Government says clear and robust protections for the Church and individuals. What concerns do you still have?
We don't doubt the good intentions, the good faith of the Scottish Government. They've done what they can. But we are concerned that in a fast-moving, a continually developing legal landscape, which is also intermixed with political and social changes across Europe, that not tomorrow or even next year, but certainly in the future, there's a real prospect of a legal challenge, a successful legal challenge to the whole framework that the Scottish Government, the Scottish Parliament has now passed. We don't expect that a minister will be forced to carry out a same-sex marriage. That's not going to happen. But it may be that if the framework is dismantled, that at some time in the future, the Church will have to decide whether or not its ministers carry out all marriages, different and same-sex, or whether they carry out no marriages at all, at least within the statutory framework.
Tom, can you recognise or understand these concerns at least?
Well, I understand your position, but I think, if you look at the evidence in Europe, most countries around Scotland actually already have same-sex marriage. The Netherlands had it since 2001, and in none of the European countries where they have same-sex marriage has any religious group been required to do it. In fact, nowhere in the world has any religious group been required to do it.
Very briefly, Alan.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that we would be required to do it. I think that's, that must be stated clearly. The difference here is that religious bodies actually act as agents of the state in carrying out a state function, which means that the framework is so much more vulnerable.
If the Church of Scotland and the Catholic Church are not obliged to opt into this, and that's most churchgoers in Scotland will go to one or other, what difference has this actually made?
Well, it makes a really significant difference because, most marriages in Scotland are civil marriages. Many marriages are done by humanists or Unitarians or Quakers or many of the other bodies that want to conduct same-sex marriages and now have the right to do that. So the good thing about this bill is it's one of the most progressive and fairest bills in the world on equal marriage. Religious groups that want to conduct same-sex marriages will be able to, and those that don't won't have to.
Alan, the Church of Scotland and the Catholic Church have opposed this every step of the way and have been rejected essentially because the legislation is now here. Are you out of step, do you think, with public opinion? Is it maybe time to say, particularly at a period of declining churches, we need to, as it were, move with the times?
Well, we've been unable to support, the Church of Scotland has been unable to support same-sex marriage because we still remain within mainstream worldwide Christian orthodoxy. Marriage is properly between a man and a woman. It is important, however, to recognise that there'll be many folk within the Church of Scotland who'll be celebrating with Tom tonight. They'll be thrilled that the marriage has passed and they will even see the hand of God in this. But as you know, we're a broad church, and there will also be many folk this evening who are devastated, who are deeply saddened, and wondering what this means for their nation, for their church, and for their own personal journey of faith.
Any possibility of the church saying, we just won't do marriages at all, that's our way out of this?
I think that would be a huge step. This last year's General Assembly was keen that we kept our eye on this, that we reviewed our options, and that's what we are doing. So theoretically, it's possible that we would simply carry out private religious marriage ceremonies that didn't have legal effect. But that would be a huge step, and one I'm pretty sure that the church would be reluctant to take. We're privileged to carry out thousands of marriages every year. That's a joyous duty for us, a joyous privilege, and we want to keep doing that if at all possible.
Tom, is it your view that today, a momentous day, is at the end of the line in terms of equality?
Well, when we look at our own research, but also what history has taught us about other equality movements. Legal equality is an important foundation to a fairer society. It's the minimum we should expect, but it doesn't resolve all the problems of the barriers and the prejudice and discrimination that people, see on a regular basis in society. So there's still more work to do to change attitudes and to reduce those barriers. But this is an historic moment in the true meaning of the word. This is the moment that I think will be remembered in history when lesbian, gay and bisexual people had this final major step towards full legal equality, and it's sending out an important message.
Very briefly, Alan, do you fear splinters in the church? Already some people have left the Church of Scotland over gay clergy, for example. Can you foresee any further splintering of the Church of Scotland?
It can't be ruled out, but the Church sees itself as a place of healing and reconciliation, not just among people, but between people and God. And therefore, it's a matter of great sadness when that happens. There will be healthy debate, absolutely, but we truly hope that we can, even if we're not united in our views, we can stay unified in our purpose to serve the nation.
Very difficult question, Tom, but you've been the face of this campaign for a long time. Personally, what does it mean for you? I'm afraid I have to ask you to answer that very briefly, although it could be longer.
Well, it's the end of a 6-year campaign on this particular issue, and we've put a lot of effort into it. But I think more than anything else, it's an honour to have been part of making history on this issue, and something that means so much to so many people across the country and the world.
Thank you both for joining us in Scotland tonight. Thank you.